Hollowbrook House had stood abandoned for decades, a looming shadow in the small forgotten town of Blackwood. With its weathered Victorian facade, overgrown gardens, and shattered windows, it had become the stuff of local legend, a place children dared each other to approach on moonless nights and adults spoke of only in hushed, fearful tones. One chilly autumn day, Julia and Michael, a couple searching for a home to call their own, stumbled upon the decrepit mansion. It was as though it had beckoned to them from beyond the veil of time. They peered through the wrought iron gate, enticed by the promise of a grand restoration project and the allure of owning a piece of history. The house was in shambles, but its potential was undeniable. The couple's vision for Hollowbrook House was unwavering, and with dreams of renovating it into a stately residence, they purchased the property without a second thought. Their first night in Hollowbrook House was filled with excitement and anticipation. They lay on a mattress in the living room, as their bedroom was still in a state of disrepair. The old house creaked and groaned, but they attributed it to the settling of an ancient structure. As the days turned into weeks, strange occurrences became a daily affair. Items went missing and reappeared in unexpected places. The temperature in certain rooms dropped inexplicably, chilling them to the bone. Julia often heard whispers in the dark corners of the house, and Mikhail saw shadows darting through the hallways out of the corner of his eye. One evening, as they sat in the dimly lit dining room, the chandelier above them began to swing violently. Dishes rattled on the table, and the air grew heavy with an unseen presence. Terrified, they fled the room, vowing to call in a professional to investigate. Their search led them to Dr. Samuel Wren, a renowned paranormal investigator who had dedicated his life to the study of haunted houses. Dr. Wren arrived at Hollowbrook House with an arsenal of equipment, ready to uncover the mysteries that shrouded the mansion. The investigation began that night. Dr. Wren set up cameras in every room and placed recording devices throughout the house. Julia and Michael huddled together in the living room, clutching each other for comfort as they watched the screens displaying the feeds from the various cameras. As the night wore on, the activity escalated. Doors slammed shut with tremendous force, and eerie apparitions flickered in and out of view on the cameras. Unearthly voices echoed through the house, whispering sinister promises of torment and despair. Julia's hair stood on end as she watched the recordings, her eyes filled with dread. Dr. Wren, undeterred by the escalating terror, decided to conduct a seance in the hopes of communicating with whatever restless spirits inhabited the house. The seance took place in the grand parlor, where a heavy, ornate table served as the centerpiece. With Julia and Michael by his side, Dr. Wren called upon the spirits to make their presence known. The air grew colder, and the table began to shake violently. The room filled with an otherworldly energy as the spirits made their intentions clear. They were not at peace. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the candles, plunging the room into darkness. Julia and Michael clung to each other, their hearts pounding as they heard the disembodied voices grow louder and more menacing. Dr. Wren struggled to maintain control of the seance, his voice trembling as he recited incantations. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the seance ended. The room fell silent, and the candles flickered back to life. Dr. Wren, drained and shaken, advised Julia and Michael to leave Hollowbrook House immediately. The spirits were malevolent, and the house was beyond redemption. But Julia and Michael were determined to confront the darkness that had taken hold of their home. They embarked on a journey to uncover the history of the mansion, searching for answers that would explain the relentless torment. Their research led them to a forgotten diary hidden in the attic, the writings of a tormented soul who had lived in Hollowbrook House a century ago. The diary chronicled a tragic love affair, betrayal, and a gruesome murder that had occurred within its walls. The spirits that haunted Hollowbrook House were the restless souls of those who had suffered within its confines. Their anguish and rage had festered for generations, and they would not rest until they exacted their revenge. Julia and Michael realized that they had no choice but to perform a ritual to release the trapped spirits from their torment. With the guidance of a local spiritualist, they gathered the necessary materials, and returned to the mansion on a moonless night. In the dim light of flickering candles, they recited incantations and offered prayers to the spirits, begging for forgiveness and peace. The atmosphere grew tense, and the house seemed to groan in protest. Suddenly, a blinding light filled the room, and the spirits materialized before them. Their faces were twisted in anguish, but as Julia and Michael continued their pleas for forgiveness, the spirits' expressions softened. One by one, they began to fade away, their tormented souls finally finding release. The house grew still, and a sense of peace settled over Hollowbrook House for the first time in centuries. Julia and Michael knew that their work was done. They had confronted the horrors of the past and brought closure to the restless spirits that had haunted the mansion. As they stood together in the moonlit parlor, the weight of history lifting from their shoulders, Julia and Michael couldn't help but feel a profound sense of gratitude. Hollowbrook House was no longer a place of darkness and despair. It had become a home once again, a testament to the enduring power of love and redemption.